So you're going to hear the voice of Grandma Iole Martinat Banker. I called her Wolfie most of the time, or I used to call her Gooby when I was little. And this is a photo that we took exactly 1 month and 1 day before she died. She looks really pretty good, but still sparkling, but probably had an infection by then. And so Grandma Iole is going to talk about her childhood, her early, her life as a young married woman. And I just love the way she's looking at me. She just adored me. I was really the most loved person in the whole wide world. I miss that. I was so loved by her. Okay, so let's get that audio started here. Here we go.
Terribly, terribly devastated. They really took the brunt of the war.
England.
By this time, they had developed the B-2, I think it's called B-2 bomber. Well, it was like a missile, and they would shoot it off from France, and it was just, really devastating when it hit. But of course, the English people would try to either shoot it out of the air, and they weren't real accurate yet, But anyhow, one of the things that I remember most was the Battle of Boulogne. The Battle of the Bulge, yeah. The Battle of the Bulge. And it was
Whoops.
That the Germans didn't know where we were going to land. And so we didn't want them to know that if we could keep them out of the area, then it was to our advantage. And so we would have reconnaissance flights where they would fly below the van of where they could see you, anyhow, and try to sneak in there and see where they were mobilizing their units, so we could not land where they were mobilizing their units. And that's at the people. The fog was so, and it was in December. Oh, God. And the fog was so bad that we couldn't move and they couldn't move, so there was just kind of a stalemate. That's why they called it the Battle of the Bulge. That's right. Stalemate. And so they put it. Oh, all right. Go put your shucks on it. No. I'm not going to open my mouth. So just 5 more minutes and then put your feet up here and get them warm. Okay. No, don't take your jacket. No, I'm not cold. I'm hot. Let go. Testadura. Oh. Who's got a testadura? You come out here and you're freezing to death. It's getting hot out here. We have to go inside, Chris. Oh, yeah, it's getting real hot. That's right. All right, put your foot inside. Okay. Thank you. That's good. Put your foot in the sleeve. Put it in the sleeve all the way in. And the other one. All the way in. Okay. Get it out in the sun where the sun is.
That's my dad, Eugene Coates, and his mother, Elsie Coates.
And so finally it broke clear, and we we could see where they were, what do you call it, when they assemble, where they were,
Where they sent the reinforcements.
what their plan, where they were mostly. And so, of course, as you all know, June 7th, I forget the year, Eisenhower was then the head of the Allies, telling everybody, what to do. And so we landed there in France and lost. You've all probably seen the movies that they made of that. But anyhow, finally the war ended.
So Grandpa was still teaching people all this time, right?
No. By now, he was just delivering airplanes.
Okay, just delivering.
Yeah, he finished. When he left Morton Air Academy, he was in the real Army by then.
So the whole time, like, the war was going on towards the end, he was not, like, in it, he was just...
He was in it.
But at least he had a good job of delivering.
Well, yeah, he survived all of the...
Yeah, I mean, at least he wasn't being shot at.
He was... Well, you never knew.
Yeah, that's true, that's true.
So then finally he came home, and then the war was over. Of course, everybody was really, really happy, including me, mostly me. And then we started rebuilding our lives, or putting our lives back together. And being grateful for what we had, like Bob came home in one piece and mentally good, because a lot of guys came back pretty screwed up. They'd seen some pretty bad atrocities like every war.
Yeah.
And so then after that, Bob got a job again, teaching, because every soldier had a certain amount of money. I'm just not just sure how much. GI Bill? Under the GI Bill, which was like, I don't know what it was, $200 or something. That they could use that for anything they wanted to do in the line of education, no matter what it was.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of guys wanted to learn how to fly. So he got a job in Long Beach. And that was Air Associates. And he taught civilian people that had been in the Army how to fly.
Like maybe
Just for fun.
the walking army people that...
Well, no, they were not in the Army.
Oh.
They had just any person who had been in the war had this GI Bill.
They wanted to learn how to fly.
And yeah, some people wanted to learn to be doctors or lawyers or whatever. And Bob took his money, and he always was interested in magic. So he went to magic school.
I think Grandpa would have been a good shaman a long time ago.
And he did it just for fun, He wasn't expecting to make a living off of it, but that's how he made his living, was in flying, teaching guys how to fly. He only got paid when he flew. It was no contract or anything. And of course, many days being down at Long Beach, it was pretty foggy, So you had to wait till the weather cleared, and you had to be there, of course, because if the weather cleared up, then your students would arrive. And so he did that for quite a few years. And in the meantime, we saw this property here in Arcadia that we liked. It had 2 acres. It was kind of beat up, but the house is rather old.
That's Vera's house.
Exactly.
The house,
And
a two-story house
avocado on
on
one side and
Golden West. And
3 acres of avocados on one side and a really broken down ranch on one other side. And
is that the south side?
yeah, the south side. And kind of an elderly gentleman lived there, and what they did that was illegal, they had cockfights on Sundays, and that's against the law.
Chickens with
males with a real sharp razor on their leg, and they're taught to kill roosters. They're taught to kill, and they would be guys that would be they came to bet on them. And of course the place, we didn't have trash service in those days, and so there was like a pile of cans and garbage and everything about twice as high as our house next door there. So that side of the house was a total disaster, and behind us was it was kept up very nice because a gentleman from Pasadena kept this place just for fresh eggs and chickens.
That's on the east side.
On the east side, so there was 3 acres over there of
it was all like empty land.
Except and by this time we had another child, a little boy, Jack, or John, we called him, but Jack, because I like the name Jack better than John, so we called him Jack. And so this was a wonderful place for kids to grow up in, because they got, they had the whole 2 acres to roam around in, and the avocado trees to roam around in. But one time they went where the roosters were and let all the roosters out.
Oh no.
And the man that was running this place caught him first. He had a little BB gun and was shooting at him, so they ran home as fast as they could. So of course I had to tell Bob when he got home that night. So he had to go find all the roosters and put them back in their cages. And they got reprimanded to not do that anymore. And another time, they were playing where this rich man had all these, well, he just had about 4 or 5 cows, but they were kept in the fertilizer was kept, they kept the fertilizer like in one part of the yard, and Jack and Patty, the little girl next door, fell in the fertilizer bin.
Like it's soft and you fall way down.
Yeah. So that was a big mess.
You got to get them all clean.
And then Lonnie decided she would take Bob's college ring or high school ring and bury it in the 3 acres of avocado. Yes, Bob was pretty upset. And he made Mom go out at night trying to
like
midnight to find his ring. And the memory that she has was so good at that.
Can you imagine how dark it was? I can't hear you over there. Can you imagine how dark it was? Just a whole orchard of avocado at night in the dark with a flashlight and about 80 avocado trees.
Well, how she found it. And
I thought I'd never find it.
you're going to be out there all night digging.
You never had a strict dad like that.
Well, I never buried something. She never buried something that wasn't hers.
She might have.
Like what?
I don't know. Because it's buried. How would I know?
miss anything?
I don't know. That's the trouble. I don't think so.
She doesn't have that kind of a mind.
I didn't have that kind of mind. I wasn't stealing it. I was just preserving it. For the archaeological
It was
record.
pretty preserved in the drawer where it was.
No, he took it off his finger and laid it on the side of the bed. I didn't take it out of the drawer.
Well,
I was
anyway.
admiring it. I was taking a nap. Covered it up with dirt. Buried it, hid it. Everybody take it that way.
So, then, slowly over the years, they...
Let me just say, your throat's getting a little, I don't want to get your throat, but it's awful hot out here. You want to take a little break and do a little bit.
Be quiet, Lonnie. I don't want to move.
Don't you want to do maybe, I can review, a couple of minutes, so then, like tomorrow, if you want to do some more, it will be a little bit fresher then, because I think Mom wants to go for a walk.
Oh, all right, good.
But my toast.
She's not ready yet.
Yeah.
So if you...
Yeah, a few more minutes. Otherwise,
I just 12:30.
I cleaned up your kitchen.
No big deal.
Well, you can say thank you, but you're in that kind of a brown stuff. It's another thing, because you never was like this. No.
Yeah, you thank me every time I clean up the kitchen. Oh my gosh. You think it was, she did something God thought wonderful. So, what do you want to know now?
Well, no, I mean, it's just, you keep, Mom buried the ring, like any, some more of those things.
Okay.
Anything that stands out?
Everything that stands out?
Mm-hmm.
Well, as we lived here, the area began to change. Before we had no street in front of our house, and then they decided to put a street in front of our house, so we had a private driveway to our house. Mm-hmm. And by this time we had decided that 2 acres was too much land for us to keep up, because we couldn't keep it up, because the people that there used to be like a little practice racetrack here for the horses for Santa Anita.
Where?
Here.
As in, on the property? Or
Yeah, here in the property.
I mean, who did that?
Oh, whoever owned the house previously to us.
Before.
Yeah. But then the people that we actually bought the house from turned this into a part. They had a job, but they turned it into a nursery where they would sell. They would grow things and then sell it to the nursery.
Huh.
They had like, why are your feet get out of here?
I'll just move a second. Okay.
Bottom getting sore?
Yeah.
Here.
No, I just want to get it.
Sit down.
So, I mean, was there certain plants just growing?
Oh, yeah, they had raspberries, they had sweet potatoes, and the big thing was they had wild roses, and they grafted the real roses onto the wild roses.
Where was, like, in 45?
I still have one here. Show you. Back there, I'll show you.
Back there?
Well, I'll show you in just a minute. And if you, all roses have to...
Stop. You're bleeding. Why are you bleeding?
So, the husband was killed. He worked in making tires, and he was killed running a machine, and somehow the machine, anyhow, so she had to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Her name was Mrs. Mundahink.
Mrs. Mundahink?
And so instead of selling the whole 2 acres, we decided to sell only 1 1 acre and keep 1 acre.
So you sold from 35 on to like Vera's house.
That's right.
I thought you did that right before Mom and Uncle went to college.
No.
No, so it was.
Oh, yeah.
How old were they when you did that?
Oh, they were about 4 or 5.
Oh, really?
We didn't keep it very long.
Okay.
And so we had a 30-foot, 300-foot gravel road that led back to our house. But the problem, we had no house. We just had the land. Yeah. So it was just bare land. So we said, well, what are we going to do? Well,
You sold it before you had a house to live in?
that's right. And then we said, well, by now they were beginning to build freeways,
Yeah.
like the Hollywood Freeway. And they were moving a lot of houses from the Hollywood Freeway and other freeways. And every morning, and they were selling. And every morning, me and my mom would go look at some of the houses.
Where were you sleeping during this time?
Well, we were at my mom and dad's house in Monterey Park.
Okay. So you just kind of like had the land for a minute and went and lived there for, okay.
So then we finally found the house that we liked, and I think it was $3,500. It was an older house, but it was a big house, and in fact it was so big they had to cut it in two to move it.
And that turned out to be 55, right?
Yeah.
But that's not it, because that's half of it, isn't it?
Yeah. It's basically the same house. We just had it rebuilt.
Did it all burn down later on? Or?
They called it total.
Oh, really? Okay.
So we got the price. Oh, I smell it. Orange.
Yeah. Mark orange smoke pretty.
Yeah.
It burned down later.
The house is from like Hollywood or something?
Yeah, the Hollywood. Came from Hollywood, and they moved it early in the morning, and they had to cut. I guess you had to get permission to cut wires to move it because the moving company did. Well, anyhow, it got here and it came up our 30-foot gravel road, and so when they put it together, it was in 2 pieces, and so we got it all working, put it,
and then started to live there.
and then we started to live there.
Would this be a good place to stop?
Yes.
Okay, for today.